Weren't you on the British diving team?
I was on the British team for almost 10 years. It was a silly thing. I got into it really late to be, efficient in any kind of international sport.
Jason Statham isn't just an action star. He's a man who lived every fight he ever filmed. From the cold, rain-soaked streets of Shirebrook to the roaring chaos of Hollywood sets, his journey was carved through pain, hunger, and raw determination. Every punch thrown, every explosion survived, carries a piece of his real struggle. But now, at 58, behind that unshakable toughness lies a tragedy few could imagine. But what really happened to the man built from steel? Stay tuned. His story will break your heart. The weight behind the warrior. The world saw Jason Statham as unbreakable, a man of iron, fists forged for chaos, and eyes that never flinched. But behind the roar of engines and the precision of his stunts, there was a quieter story, one that Hollywood rarely cared to tell. The cameras captured his strength, not his solitude. The studios wanted explosions, not emotion. "You do one thing too well," he once said, half joking, "and they never let you do anything else." Beneath the humor lay exhaustion, the kind born not from failure, but from being trapped by success. Long before the billion-dollar franchises and the global fame, Jason was just another hustler from the rain-drenched streets of Shirebrook. His world was built on grit and survival, selling on street corners, diving for his country, chasing every dream that refused to stay still.
I think that was one of the interesting parts about what Steve did, was to not have this guy.
Yet even when fame found him, the hunger never really left. After Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels made his name in 1998, the lights got brighter, but the nights grew darker. He walked alone after shoots, aching in silence, each muscle carrying the memory of stunts that nearly took his life. But not all of Jason's scars came from crashes or falls. Some came from love, from the kind of heartbreak that no training could fix. Before the headlines and action sets, there was Kelly. She was already known, her beauty the kind that made rooms turn and cameras linger. He was still fighting to be seen. Together, they built a small world of laughter and promises, cheap takeouts, cramped apartments, dreams too big for their walls. She teased him about his endless workouts. He swore one day it would all be worth it, and it was, for a time. Fame, however, changes everything. His days stretched into endless filming schedules. Her life spun faster under the glow of television lights. They tried to hold on, but distance is louder than words. Soon, smiles became polite, calls turned rare, and the silence between them began to echo. Then came the photographs. Kelly, arm in arm, with actor Billy Zane. The headlines didn't just sting, they shattered. Jason didn't rage or seek revenge. He simply went quiet. He buried his heartbreak the only way he knew, through motion. More hours at the gym, longer takes on set, each bruise masking what couldn't be spoken. Friends noticed his absence. Interviews about love went unanswered. Years later, when asked about her, he simply said, "We were young. Life moves faster than people do." There was no bitterness, only a faint trace of gratitude, the kind that comes when pain has finally learned to sit still. She had loved him when he had nothing, and left when he had everything. That was the cruel symmetry of his rise, proof that even the toughest men bleed, not from bullets or blows, but from memories that never truly fade. But when the past still lingered, could new love heal old wounds? Keep watching. Between fire and silence. By 2005, Jason Statham was 38, a man who had finally conquered the dream he once chased through London's rain-soaked streets. The Transporter and Crank had made him Hollywood's newest obsession. Yet, the applause that followed him from city to city began to sound hollow when the cameras stopped rolling. Fame filled the rooms, but not the spaces within. He often returned from premieres to quiet hotel walls that didn't know his name. A year after his breakup with Kelly Brook, Jason crossed paths with Sophie Monk, the wild, radiant Australian singer who seemed to arrive just when life had gone too still. She was 26, fearless, and refreshingly alive. She laughed loudly, teased him about his endless workouts, and had a spark that made his walls crumble, if only for a moment. "You're always fighting something," she once joked. He smiled and said, "That's how I stay ready." On lazy afternoons, she'd throw popcorn at him while old movies flickered in the background. For a while, Jason wasn't an action hero. He was simply a man rediscovering warmth. But love rarely survives the life of a man always on the move. Jason's career pulled him across continents: Morocco, France, Los Angeles, while Sophie's world thrived back in Australia. Distance stretched tighter with each flight, until words no longer reached across the miles. One evening in late 2006, they spoke for the last time, not in anger, but in silence. No argument, no ending, just the soft collapse of something beautiful. Later, when asked about her, Sophie said, "He was the hardest man to love, not because he didn't care, but because he carried everything inside."
So, all of them, they're terrific at what they do. And they get a great kick out of it, and they love it.
By 2007, another chapter began. Alex Zosman, a London model and designer who seemed to offer the calm Jason had long craved. She wasn't fame or fire. She was stillness. Their mornings smelled of coffee, their nights of peace. After years of chaos, she grounded him. He'd come home late, kiss her forehead, and whisper, "You make this world feel still." For the first time in years, he almost believed it. But peace rarely stays when the world demands movement. Between 2008 and 2009, Jason's schedule became brutal. The bank job, death race, Transporter 3. Cities blurred together. Time slipped through his hands. Alex tried to hold on, but love needs presence, not postcards. By 2010, they drifted apart quietly. No drama, just two souls on different tracks. Jason once said, "Everyone wanted the actor. No one saw the man." Those words carried the ache of being desired, yet unseen. The hotel lights dimmed, the applause faded, and only his breathing reminded him he was still here. Fame had given him everything, except stillness. Yet he endured, because that's what Jason Statham had always done. Keep moving, even through the quiet that follows the storm. But just when he thought stillness was enough, life had a new challenge in store. Keep watching. The quiet after the storm. And even after enduring the fire and the silence, Jason Statham discovered that calm has its own battles. In 2010, at 43, he met Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, a 23-year-old model whose quiet confidence cut through the armor he had spent decades forging. She wasn't dazzled by fame. She was drawn to the stillness beneath his strength. "You don't talk much," she teased over wine one evening. He smiled, half amused, half wary. "I've said enough in bruises," he replied. From that moment, the chase ended, replaced by a slow, steady warmth that grew like dawn. Their early days were built from simple pleasures: evening walks through Notting Hill, secret grocery runs, cooking pasta in the cramped kitchen of his London flat, laughter spilling over as music played softly. For the first time in years, Jason wasn't a stuntman, a star, or a symbol of survival. He was just a man breathing beside someone who made the world feel alive again. "You make me feel alive," he told her once, and she knew he meant it. By 2016, their love had endured distance, gossip, and the relentless demands of Hollywood. At 49 and 29, they became engaged under a soft Malibu sunset, their commitment understated, deliberate, a promise built on patience rather than spectacle. A year later, their son, Jack Oscar, was born, and for a moment, Jason felt the world slow. Cradling him, he marveled at the smallness of life, realizing the fight he never wanted to win was simply keeping this peace intact.
Guidance is good, and I think dads are always a little bit more, I remember my dad.
Yet fame's machine showed no mercy. Filming for Mechanic, Resurrection, and The Fate of the Furious pulled him across continents, leaving Rosie at home to balance motherhood and her own career. First steps, first words, birthdays celebrated via screen, moments he longed to hold but could not. She left handwritten notes in his suitcase. "Come home soon. We love you." Nights spent alone in hotel rooms reminded him that even love required patience he could rarely afford. In 2022, their daughter Isabella James arrived. A second heartbeat, a reminder of what truly mattered. Holding her, Jason understood that no premiere, paycheck, or stunt could ever match the gravity of home. By 2025, at 58, he and Rosie lived mostly in London, far from Hollywood's glare. Mornings smelled of pancakes and crayons. Evenings hummed with laughter instead of headlines. He no longer chased fame or posted updates. He protected the fragile world he had fought so long to build. But even peace carried its shadows. After a lifetime of storms, Jason Statham knows that love, like life itself, is delicate, and some battles are won only by guarding what matters most. But peace, as Jason was about to learn, never lasts forever. It only waits for the next storm. Keep watching. The loss of true friendship. And even when life seemed to offer quiet, Jason Statham learned that peace comes with shadows. In 2011, on the set of The Expendables 2 in Bulgaria, a day that began like any other became unforgettable. Blue skies stretched over the mountains, cameras rolled, and laughter bounced between takes. Jason was rehearsing a chase by the lake alongside Kun Liu, a 26-year-old stuntman from China who looked up to him. "One day, I'll be where you are," Kun said, eyes bright with ambition. Jason smiled, unaware that the day would carve a wound that no applause could heal. The explosion came seconds too early. The roar tore through the air like reality itself shattering. Jason saw the flash, the smoke, the chaos, and then silence, raw and merciless. People ran, screams echoed, and in the midst of it all, Kun Liu was gone. That night, alone in his trailer, Jason replayed the disaster endlessly. The timing, the steps, the flash of light. "You think you're invincible," he later admitted, "until you see someone die doing what they love."
A stuntman has died and another is in a stable condition on the set of Sylvester Stallone's film The Expendables 2 in Bulgaria.
From that moment, stunts were no longer just performance. They were risks paid in blood. He trained harder, smiled for the cameras, but the weight of what he had seen settled in his eyes. 2 years later, while filming Fast and Furious 7 in 2013, Jason discovered light amid grief. At the heart of that light was Paul Walker, 40, warmth embodied, a man whose presence made cynics believe in goodness. Jason entered the Fast and Furious family as the newcomer, yet Paul welcomed him instantly, an arm around his shoulder, teasing him between takes, late-night videos, just to spark a laugh. Off camera, they spoke for hours about cars, family, charity, and purpose beyond fame. "You do what you love, but you live for what you give," Paul said one evening, words that Jason carried forever. Then, November 30th arrived. A quiet Saturday in Santa Clarita turned to tragedy. Paul Walker, leaving a charity event for typhoon victims, died in a car crash. The laughter and light of the set vanished. Jason went to the memorial silently, standing among thousands, head bowed, tears flowing for the man who had become his brother. Filming afterward felt like chasing a ghost. Every engine roar and scripted smile echoed Paul's absence. You don't move on from a man like Paul, Jason later reflected. You carry his light wherever you go. Since that day, danger has taken on a new meaning for Jason. Explosions, car crashes, and stunts are no longer just cinematic feats. They are reminders of lives that didn't return. He works with teams more closely, insists on safer sets, and honors the craft as sacred. At night, he sometimes awakens from dreams filled with smoke and chaos, checks on his children, and whispers a quiet thank you to fate. Countless fights on screen cannot match the one within. The battle between survival, sorrow, and the human heart. Every explosion ends in silence, and in that silence, he remembers who didn't come back. But what happens when the toughest man on screen realizes the real fight isn't in the arena, but within his own body? Keep watching. Wrestling time and gravity. For decades, he waged a silent war, each bruise, fracture, and torn ligament a testament to the cost of his craft. It began in 2002, when he chose to take every fall, punch, and plunge himself. From the transporter to crank, Jason made pain part of the performance, diving through glass, fighting atop moving vehicles, and rolling down staircases until his skin burned. Fellow stuntmen admired him. Doctors warned him. "That's the job," he'd laugh. Behind the grin, however, his body ached, and sleep became rare. By his 40s, the toll was undeniable. Years of relentless stunts had left his spine compressed, joints screaming, and body riddled with microfractures. Yet, he refused to stop. "You don't rest," he once told a friend. "You just recover fast enough to get hurt again." Films came and went. The Mechanic, Parker, Safe, each demanding more from a body already pushed to its limits. Then, in 2014, The Expendables 3 almost claimed him. Bulgaria, summer noon by the Black Sea. Jason was behind the wheel of a 3-ton truck for a stunt he insisted on doing himself. Engines roared, cameras rolled, and for a heartbeat, everything was perfect until the brakes failed. The truck lurched toward the pier. Glass shattered, water surged, the world flipped. He fought through the chaos, lungs burning, thinking of home, Rosie's smile, his son's laugh. Instinct overtook fear. He forced the door open, broke through the water, and gasped for air. Alive, trembling, and soaked, he faced mortality and survived. From that day on, stunts became risks paid in blood. Pain became constant, a dull hum beneath muscles, yet he endured, training, fighting, and moving forward. Younger stuntmen watched wide-eyed, unaware of the quiet toll behind the performance. In private, he revisited the Black Sea, where courage met mortality. Now, in 2025, at 58, silver at the edges of his hair and memory etched in his body, Jason Statham still carries that fire. Smaller, tempered by time, yet unbroken. On set, he brings the same intensity, a reminder that the real battles are fought not in explosions, but in silence, within the body, and against time itself. He once said, "I used to fight villains, now I fight gravity." And that has always been the truth. But what was he like before his rise to fame and the heartbreaks that followed? Stay tuned to find out. From streets to silver screens, no spotlight ever shone where Jason Statham first learned to survive. Born on July 26, 1967 in Shirebrook, Derbyshire, he grew up amid coal smoke, cracked windows, and nights longer than hope. His father, Barry, worked dawn to dusk, mining, painting, selling trinkets, and singing in pubs, while his mother, Eileen, danced for fleeting applause. Childhood was a luxury Jason couldn't afford. By 12, he had found another kind of discipline, diving at the Crystal Palace National Sports Center, pushing his body through pain, bruises, and exhaustion, chasing perfection while the janitor shut off the lights. Winter after winter, He climbed back to the board, hands raw, muscles screaming, learning that endurance was stronger than talent. In 1990, he represented England at the Commonwealth Games, but 2 years later, missing the Olympic team by a single place left him staring at still water, realizing strength wasn't born in victory, it was forged in struggle.
England's Jason Statham. He's in 9th position.
London in the early 90s was merciless. Jason sold cheap perfume, jewelry, and hope on rain-slick streets, sleeping wherever he could, surviving with grit his father had instilled. Nights were spent training alone, push-ups and shadowboxing against ghosts of failure, forging a toughness no applause could validate. Then a break came. Sports promotions spotted him, and soon he was modeling for Tommy Hilfiger, Levi's, and French Connection, his face carved by life, not by cameras. But it wasn't fame, it was a foothold. Destiny arrived in 1998 when Guy Ritchie cast him in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Ritchie didn't see an actor, he saw truth. Jason's grit, his silence, and his lived experience became performance. Snatch followed, and then The Transporter in 2002 turned him into an international star. He trained relentlessly. Wing Chun, Krav Maga, kickboxing, performing every stunt himself. Bruised, torn, relentless. From Crank to The Expendables, Fast and Furious 7 to The Meg, his name became synonymous with action. Behind every blockbuster, however, was the quiet war of his body. Each scar a reminder of streets survived, dives endured, and battles fought long before cameras rolled. Through bruises, flops, box office triumphs, and relentless travel, Jason Statham carried the same fire he learned in Shirebrook, that survival is earned, resilience is forged, and the man beneath the fame is still the boy who learned to rise again and again. Forged in fire, defined by peace. The Jason Statham the world knows is all grit and steel, a man of fists, fire, and fury. But behind that hardened image is someone who's learned that true strength lies not in never breaking, but in rising every time life knocks you down. From selling trinkets on London streets to becoming one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, his story is one of sheer resilience. Today, Statham lives far from that chaos, in a $13 million Beverly Hills retreat that radiates calm. Spanning nearly 6,000 square feet of glass, wood, and stone, it's a reflection of the peace he earned through discipline and patience. The air smells faintly of cedar, koi swim beyond the glass walls, and every inch of the space feels deliberate, a reminder that silence, and for him, is no longer empty, but deserved. His Malibu beach house once faced the Pacific, a place of quiet mornings and laughter with his son, later sold for $18.5 million. In London, he still keeps properties near Kensington, grounding him to the city that shaped his drive. Statham's garage tells its own story. An Aston Martin DBS, McLaren 720S, Ferrari F12 Berlinetta, and a nostalgic Jaguar E-Type, each a symbol of precision and perseverance. Despite a net worth exceeding $120 million, he lives simply with Rosie Huntington-Whiteley and their children. For Jason Statham, peace isn't the absence of struggle. It's the triumph of having survived it and still standing tall. So what forged the grit and resilience behind Jason Statham's fame? Tell us your perspective. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.